some king cake, and are you guys ready to do some live girl chat? Yes. All right. Amazing. All this week, we'll be celebrating all of our fans in where? Philadelphia! Boom. That's right. We'll be getting to the nitty-gritty with our real fam in Philly. Shout out to Gritty, by the way. He's the Philadelphia Flyers mascot, and people there love him.
He's cute. Yeah, he is.
I know.
He looks like he needs a little sleep, but I like him.
That's a scary, cute little mascot right there.
Okay, speaking of girl chat,
Oh,
you
Lord.
guys, we need to talk about this Michael Jackson documentary. Last night, HBO aired the second part of their Leaving Neverland documentary, which features two men, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, who allege that the pop star repeatedly sexually abused them as young children. The documentary's airing was followed by an after show hosted by the one and only Oprah Winfrey, where she sat down with Michael's accusers and the film's director, Dan Reed, to further discuss the allegations. Oprah, who's been receiving a lot of criticism from fans who don't believe the accusations, said she knew what she was getting herself into, saying, quote, "For me, this movie transcends Michael Jackson. It allows us to see societal corruption. It's like a scourge on humanity. If it gets you to see how it happens, then some good would have come of it." Michael's family and his estate have filed a lawsuit against HBO, calling the film a public lynching and a money grab. In a statement read by Oprah last night, Jackson's family said, in part, they're furious people would believe the words of these two admitted liars without a shred of proof or a single piece of evidence. Now, ladies, I know this is a hard subject to discuss, but where do you guys stand on these allegations and the film?
I feel like I think it is HBO's duty to let us know if these people were compensated. I understand that they're saying they didn't get paid, but there could be some sort of compensation. And I think that for me watching this, I've only seen the first part.
Yeah.
It is a lot to handle. I mean, so many of us love Michael Jackson. He's someone who's iconic. He is the soundtrack to many people's childhoods. He broke barriers in so many different ways for music and the world in general. So it is hard to watch. I personally want to know, were they compensated?
Well, I
Anything,
do
and
have
what
that
their
information
motive
for
is.
you. Dan Reed, the director of Leaving Neverland, has defended the documentary, and he has said that the two accusers were not paid to appear in the film and have no financial interest whatsoever in the future, past, or present
Were
interest.
they compensated for any of the footage? Were they compensated for...
It says right here,
Get what I'm
nothing.
saying? Nothing.
Nothing.
Well, you know, I think that my issue is with these parents. If you look, first of all, I would recommend everybody
To watch.
look at it and watch it.
Yep.
But I also want to remind people, this is not a court of law. That's a documentary. Okay? So that's a one-sided documentary where they're giving their testimony. I do want to say that when I was a kid, my mom loved Al Green, the singer. But if Al Green, the singer, came to my mom and said, let Lonnie stay with me for a week, she would say no. Okay? I want to say that. Also, I have some concerns because Wade Robson, who was featured in the Robson, was featured in the, he testified in 2003 when he was 23 years old that Michael had not sexually abused or assaulted him. And it seems like, well, isn't that perjury? And so we asked our legal people, and they said that according to the law, when recanting a story, especially with alleged child abuse, victims can take back their statements, and a perjury defense would not hold. Because I was wondering, I'm like, why is he, you know, and now he's changing his tune. I will say this. I've never been sexually molested, but I have had men say things to me when I was a young girl, and I never forgot it. So sometimes people handle, you know, sexual molestation differently. Sometimes they withhold it. But there's something going on with these parents. It's something with the parents. And even if you watch the documentary, at times they were giggling, they were laughing, and we want to believe something is going on and needs to be more investigations. I will say that the FBI did investigate it years ago, and he was never found guilty.
True. Wade Robson actually said the reason why he wanted to do this documentary was that he first started to think about the behavior being abused when he had a son. So now that he's a father, he said he began to learn about how children think. And the whole thing is there are a lot of things that have, come out with this documentary, but also, like you were saying, with the trial in 2005. And there are some facts. There was a $25 million settlement.
Mm-hmm.
There were houses, given, necklaces, bought. And then also Michael Jackson, he did an interview with Martin Bashir back in the day where he actually admitted to sleeping, not sleeping with, but sleeping with young children in the same bed. Now, I don't care who you are, how famous you are, I'm not gonna let my child just sleep in somebody's bed. Because that opens up, it's not a good look, and it opens up a can of worms. You know what I mean?
I think also when people were saying that, they were saying Michael Jackson didn't have like a regular one bedroom like mine, It was like a huge room.
Like a miniature palace as a bedroom.
The thing is, I wasn't there.
With them too.
Yeah.
That's what they
To
said.
be honest, I was not there. I don't know. You know what I mean? I just don't know. I don't know how to feel about this.
You don't want to believe it.
Yes,
you don't want to believe,
Yeah. In my household, Michael Jackson, he is hands down my mom's #1 celebrity, star, icon, everything. We learned to speak a lot of English, like from listening to all of his albums. I still remember the fold out of him in that white suit with that beautiful little panther or leopard or something. And I just remember staring at it and just loving him. I went to 2 of his concerts. I wore that damn glove around my neck.
So did I.
It turned, it
Thriller
faded in the shower,
t-shirt,
but it was
glitter.
real to me. And I have to tell you, when this came out, I couldn't watch it because I knew that I'm too sensitive to be able to make it through. I couldn't finish R. Kelly's series. I went halfway and then I got so sick to my stomach I actually threw up after I watched it. And the thing is, for me, no matter what, when everybody judges and thinks about Michael Jackson, I just want to separate for a second and think about the survivors of sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Today, 70% of sexual abuse victims are children under 17.
Wow.
Out of that 70%, 73% of them, you guys, do not say anything for at least a year. 43% of them don't say anything for 5 years. I'm going to tell you one girl here who didn't say anything until she was about 30. So you just have to be sensitive, because when you are when you trust somebody and you love somebody and you're a kid, your emotional flow gets disrupted, and then sometimes it dies and it decays until you feel alive again to say something. So we don't know if it's true or not, but just don't dismiss that there are victims out there who have no idea how to come out, and this might be help for them. Don't remove that.
And you have to think from a parent's point of view as well. From a parent's point of view, you have these kids, like you were saying, very young, come to you and tell you something is happening. And then you're like, holy crap, who did this? Then you find out it's a person that's very beloved. You may be a fan for years, and he's this public figure. And then you're like, holy crap, you can only imagine the backlash that you're going to get. But I know me. If I knew that I knew that I knew that I knew that this happened to my child, I don't care who you are. I'm gonna fight for you. I'm gonna make sure this never happens to any other child.
That justice
and that justice is served.
But see, that's what I'm saying. This film helps trigger you, maybe more than normally, Tamara, to pay more attention to your kids and all of a sudden look for signs. There's a reason why this film exists. Just sometimes we just have to remove the Michael Jackson part of it to take the learning parts of it as a child. As a child or as a parent. And I love that you're thinking about this a little bit more, even in a much more sensitive way, because of whatever you saw that happened to someone
And in the pain if someone didn't believe my child. And I knew that my child was telling the truth.
But
I would freak out.
I do, and that's the issue that I have, is that I don't want this is separate from real sexual assault victims, because I remember I was doing a gig with Jay Leno, and he was telling me the story of why he testified for Michael Jackson in 2003. He said that the mother of the child at that time, I'm sorry I don't remember the name, but I heard this from Jay Leno's mouth. He said that same mother tried to get him, and that's the reason why he testified. See, we need to go back to the testimonies back in 2003, 2005. And, I wish somebody would do a documentary of that and then pair it against this, because that's the thing, is that this is one-sided. And so we don't know. But I don't want that to negate real sexual
Victims.
assault
Yeah.
victims and parents paying attention to their kids
Yes.
and believing their children.
Yes,
But
there
for
are real
this is
victims.
questionable. This is very questionable when you had them testifying, saying that, you know, Michael Jackson didn't molest them. Then you still have people like Macaulay Culkin who said
says it
he
never
never
happened.
did anything. You had, what's the other one's name?
I
Corey
was really,
Friedman.
Yeah, I was really good friends with Austin Brown, who's Rebe Jackson's son. I actually even spent a Thanksgiving with the Jackson family in the house in Encino. And he recently just put this out on Instagram, and he said, Wade 10 years ago told me personally how he was offered money to do exactly what he's doing now, but would never because it never happened, and he loved Michael. Funny how 10 years later, after his multiple tributes and Michael now being dead, this comes out of left field. What I'm telling you is a fact, so it's up to you to decipher for yourself. Hopefully you're smarter than that.
Yeah.
So that gets confusing. It also gets confusing when you have families who did accept money. I don't think there's a price on justice for my child.
No.
Right.
And
So
how
it's
does that help
hard.
the other children? How
And
does that help the other children if it's happening?
It hurts the real victims. When you take money from a settlement, you hurt the real victims because then it gives the defense of saying, well, they were just after the money.
I truly
It messes
think
it up.
too, that's why you gotta look at the story. I remember stories of parents trying to give Michael screenplays. They were upset because this is why when y'all say, why Lonnie keep to herself? Why Lonnie don't want nobody to know where she is? Why Lonnie ain't really, this is the reason why.
People will use
Because
can
people, you
use
can't trust everybody. You know what I mean? And Michael to me was loving. He wanted to include people. And sometimes maybe that was a point of loneliness. You know what I mean? And when he did, and I have to be honest, we were shocked when we was like, well, wait a minute, he with kids. He's sleeping with kids.
Yes,
but we
it
don't,
sounds strange in
but
general.
then we was
That's
like, that's
obvious.
Michael. Michael got a monkey and and
This is
giraffes
true.
and all this other kind of stuff. You know, he's been singing since he's 5 years old. We don't know, he never had a childhood. Maybe that was it. Maybe he thought it was sleep. We just don't. But you gotta
And it makes it
study
confusing
this.
when there were some people that possibly did lie, and there are people that possibly may
We're
be
telling the truth.
The truth. So
Yeah.
that gets confusing. We want to know what you thought about the Michael Jackson documentary. At Eris Zuko said, it's questionable whether or not it is true, but there is a reason why these allegations came out. If he didn't do all this, he did something. At Abu Zara as 8 said, it is a one-sided documentary. He is not alive, period. It should not have been filmed at all. Let him rest. What do you guys think about that?
I think you need to follow the money. I think you need to follow the money, and then that's the thing too. He's passed, so he can't even defend himself. So why are you coming out with a documentary?
Maybe I agree that he can't defend himself, but like Jeannie said, sometimes it takes the person to pass.
And Wade is saying now that he's a father,
Yeah.
he feels like he has that
Yes.
duty,
And you also-
he understands a little bit more.
And you can't compare one child's experience
Exactly.
to another.
That's
Just
so
because
true.
one person said that didn't happen
Yeah,
doesn't mean that it didn't
happen.
happen to someone
Yeah.
else.
It just sucks in the court of what is that called? Public opinion.
Right.
It gets confusing.
Yes.
And again, when you lie about one thing, it ruins it for the people that are actually really victims of sexual molestation and abuse.
Yeah.
I really hope that people really get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Last comment is from at Benny Oma Nonia. Said, I think these guys are just looking for easy money and fame. Why not do this while he was alive?
I do want to say
confusing.
too that Michael Jackson does have 3 children. None of those children have said anything about their dad, and I'm kind of thinking they lived in that house with him. Their story has never changed about their dad. So think about that.
Yeah.
Before we go to break, we want to recognize the passing of a TV icon. Yesterday, actor Luke Perry passed away at the age of 52 as a result of complications from a stroke he suffered last week. Luke rose to fame on the hit 90s show Beverly Hills 90210 as the hunky Dylan McKay and was currently starring on CW's hit show Riverdale. Luke was surrounded by his family at the time of his passing and was met with an outpouring of love and support from his fans. He will be missed.